Tonight, Australia's first rocket launching facility to be built on the Eyre Peninsula, and forensics continue to investigate the unexplained death of a man at a Whyalla hotel.
This is Southern Cross News with Abby Donaldson.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. In an Australian first, the Eyre Peninsula will be home to a new rocket launcher to send satellites into space. Construction at the chosen launch site of Whalers Way, just south of Port Lincoln, is expected to begin next year. Casey Trelaw has the details.
It mightn't look like much now, but the rugged coastline here at Whalers Way will soon be home to Australia's first orbital rocket launch site, allowing South Australia to soar as a force in the global space industry.
All eyes from across the globe will be looking at Port Lincoln as a new space launch destination.
Adelaide-based company Southern Launch will be developing the site on the tip of the Eyre Peninsula, about 40 kilometres south of Port Lincoln.
Hopefully going to create a centre of gravity that attracts further space investment into the state and generates a whole raft of new job opportunities.
But we won't be seeing any humans launched into space, as it'll be built for much smaller rockets.
Are designing so small satellites about the size of either shoeboxes, up to about maybe your family fridge size.
And there's already a global lineup of customers ready for liftoff.
It'll be a national first. It'll be the only one in Australia that'll be operating like this, and a great opportunity for our region to be at the forefront of this new technology.
Southern Launch is currently working on its environmental assessment of the land and getting the necessary government approvals. But it's expected we'll see the site here in operation toward the end of next year.
A 33-year-old man has sustained burns to 90% of his body and is fighting for his life after a fire broke out at a property in the mid-north town of Burra overnight. Police and fire crews were called to a house on McBride Stock Road just after midnight, which was completely destroyed in the blaze, with the damage estimated to be around $300,000. The man was airlifted to the Royal Adelaide Hospital and is in a critical condition. Fire Corps investigators are undergoing an examination of the scene. A property near Clare has been raided by SAPOL's bomb response unit after a man injured himself in an explosion. The 38-year-old was flown to the Royal Adelaide to undergo surgery, sustaining injuries to his hands and legs. Police seized a number of bombs at the property and conducted a controlled explosion. Investigations are still undergoing and no charges are yet to be made against the man involved. Anyone with information is urged to call Crime Stoppers. Meantime, Whyalla detectives and forensics are still investigating the unexplained death of a man at a local hotel. Just after 9 a.m. yesterday, emergency services were called to the Westlands Hotel after an unresponsive man was found in a motel room. The man, aged in his 30s, was declared dead at the scene. Major crime and forensic experts worked through the night to determine the cause, sealing off the room for analysis. A report will be prepared for the state coroner. As our region swelters over the next few days, police are urging residents to observe fire danger warnings. It comes after two people last weekend were charged with lighting fires on their properties during a total ban period.
Summer's back with a vengeance. The heat will pack a punch, with temperatures across the whole region nudging 40 degrees tomorrow and Friday.
Horrible for fire weather, which means that we'll most likely see potentially significant winds and significant heat.
Residents are reminded that fire bans are in place for a reason. It comes after a 40-year-old man in Harvey Street, Whyalla, was fined last Saturday for lighting a fire on a total ban day. On the same day in Port Lincoln, a 45-year-old woman was also fined for doing the same thing.
The fire danger rating for this day was forecast as severe, and this requires significant resources from emergency services.
Operation Nomad will likely be activated with police on high alert in risky areas. Sergeant Fillmore, however, is also asking residents to do the right thing.
Discarded cigarettes carelessly, campfires getting out of control, and some tools used without proper protections and precautions are some of the triggers.
The CFS are also hopeful people will listen.
Preparing your property is your best line of defence, so I would hope that people have been taking that advice.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Environmental conservationists have today met with locals from the Port Augusta community to discuss the risks of the proposed underground coal gasification plant in Lee Creek. Sarah Howes travelled to the town to tell the Queensland story of the mining technology in which two plants have failed, reportedly polluting nearby country. She says traditional landowners in Port Augusta are very passionate about the issue.
Their wish is that their country be cared for and respected and that they be allowed to interact with it and to visit it.
A meeting was held last night in Lee Creek for the local community. The Port Lincoln Council met for the first time since the local government elections last night, welcoming some new members and leaders. Newly elected Mayor Brad Flaherty was inducted into his new position, while new councillors Valerie Staunton, Jack Ritchie, Jeff Dodd, Robin Roselle and Peter Lynn took their oaths. And to take on second in charge, Faye Davis was voted in as Deputy Mayor for the next 2 years. Meantime, the Port Lincoln City Council is calling on the community to have their say on the future of the town's design. Workshops will kick off tomorrow from 1 p.m. to discuss and share ideas for the foreshore, CBD and marina precincts. The co-design sessions are to be held at the Nautilus Arts Centre, where people can pitch ideas like children nature play spaces, event infrastructure and streetscape improvements. You can visit portlincoln.sa.gov.au for all the details. The Clare-based community organisation SA Country Carers has spent the past 2 decades offering respite to unpaid carers. The not-for-profit group is now looking ahead to 2019 with aspirations to update some of its facilities.
Caring for Our Carers, an organisation in the Mid-North, is offering information, counselling and advocacy to people who spend their lives looking after others.
It's very important for families to actually have a break and make sure, the family unit relies on people's mental health, actually recharging your batteries.
A staggering 1/5 of South Australia's population provides unpaid care to a family member, friend or loved one. It's a demanding way of life, with many people suffering from chronic conditions and terminal illnesses requiring constant assistance. Individuals can be consumed by physical and mental fatigue and are in desperate need of a temporary break.
Their job that they do is actually over 24 hours a day, so they need somewhere where the person that they care for can come and have a rest.
Gravilla House has been around for quite some time, requiring renovations to keep its facilities up to scratch. As a non-for-profit, SA Country Carers is reliant on the support of external groups.
It needed a bit of an uplift, quite a significant one. So back in 2016, with the help of Rotary and Beyond Bank and some other community groups, we raised some money to renovate the kitchen.
The team has renovated a garage into a playroom for children. However, into 2019, they hope to raise enough money to create a proper sensory room. SA Country Carers are always looking for new guests. If you would like to inquire about their services, contact their Clare office on 1300 686 405. Dominic Beaton, Southern Cross News.
Still to come tonight, a mining company finds a large iron ore deposit west of the Silver City. Hello again. A mining company has made a big discovery near Broken Hill this week. Havilah Resources found a large iron ore deposit west of the Silver City, but they say more drilling is needed to determine how much is there.
Drilling down and coming up with the goods.
Going forward, we've got these nice results.
Havilah Resources recently completed a 13-hole drilling program in the Grants Iron Ore Basin, just over the South Australian border. They say they intersected a thick iron formation in multiple drill holes over an area of 3.5 square kilometres. So far, the drilling program has only covered around 25% of the basin.
If you imagine the hull of a ship, it's sort of like a boat shape, and we've drilled just in one end of it.
The drilling program is part of the works being conducted and funded by Cymec Mining, who purchased the Wireless Steelworks last year. It's part of their look at the commercialisation of Havilah's 2 iron ore projects. Mr Giles says more drilling will have to be conducted in the coming months to officially determine how much iron ore is there. He believes the project has potential, given its close proximity to Broken Hill and the Transcontinental Railway line. Patrick Ryanke, Southern Cross News.
And in the aftermath of an attempted breakout from Broken Hill Jail earlier this week, Corrective Services New South Wales says there are plans to upgrade the facility's security. Corrective Services told Southern Cross News that a number of structural works will soon take place at the prison. They include installing new brackets and wire mesh at strategic parts of the jail. The upgrades come after 3 men tried to escape the centre on Monday. Turning Broken Hill's Imperial Lake into a public area again has been a hot topic in recent months. A member for Barwon, Kevin Humphreys, thinks there could be another location to look at, being the Stevens Creek Reservoir.
It's a beautiful area, but majority of it is for authorised people only.
Whether it reverts or is used for a sport and recreation area, amenity for the Broken Hill district and surrounds, that could be another option as well.
The Stevens Creek Reservoir does have public amenities, but access to the water is restricted. With renewed interest for a public lake area for the Silver City, Imperial Lake and Stevens Creek have been suggested. However, at the moment, both are being used as water storage and supply for Broken Hill. But when the Wentworth pipeline begins supplying the city, it's not certain what will happen to the two areas.
You've got the good Mount Gips Hotel out there just sitting in front of it. It's probably not a bad area to have a look at. And whether it be a state-run recreational area or whether you've got accommodation there or even a caravan park, I mean, there's plenty of options.
Mr Humphreys says plenty of homework will have to be done about Stevens Creek and Imperial Lake. Water quality, infrastructure, the cost of maintenance, it all needs to be considered. He says it's certainly something to look at in 2019 when the new pipeline nears completion. Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
The Metropolitan Fire Service in Port Augusta has got involved in the Christmas spirit, treating local children to a visit from Santa Claus. Decked out with tinsel, the fire truck made its way through the town for the last 2 nights, handing out lollies to kids as they line the streets to catch a glimpse of the man in red. The tour around town will conclude tonight on the west side. Well, speaking of Christmas, the Port Augusta community is preparing to line the streets ahead of the annual Christmas pageant. Friday's event is set to be one of the biggest yet, with 33 floats expected to make their way through the town, and of course the man in red. Organisers are encouraging the community to come along, but are advising everyone to prepare ahead of extremely hot weather.
Slip, slop, slap, lots of water, sunscreen, and to try and stay cool.
The pageant will start at 6 p.m. and will be followed by the community Christmas party at Gladstone Square, which will conclude with a spectacular fireworks display. To keep up to date with all the latest information about the pageant, visit the Port Augusta Council Facebook page. Port Pirie's community leaders are urging residents to buy local this Christmas to help out struggling local businesses. Job insecurity and buying products online is having an impact on the local economy.
Christmas is almost here and Port Pirie's leaders are urging the public to buy local. Having the biggest employer in town announcing job cuts so close to the festive season is making residents more frugal with their Christmas budgets.
More important than ever that people focus on our community and look to support the local businesses. We need the employment, we need the prosperity to make this place as good as it is.
Fallout effect of job insecurity can have dire consequences on local towns and can cause expenditure to significantly drop during the most vital periods of the year for retailers. And with cheaper options online, the culture of shopping is changing, with some saying for the worst. Online sale promotions such as Cyber Monday has local consumers sending their money overseas, instead of giving the local economy the cash injection it desperately needs.
What I'd like you to stop and think about is that who sponsors your local sporting club? Who turns around and gives your kids a job and all that sort of stuff? It's not Mr. Internet.
Shop owners have expressed concerns with locals shopping out of town and are hoping to rejuvenate Port Pirie into the shopping hub it once was.
We encourage people in our community here to actually support our local businesses in Port Pirie. Our local businesses in Port Pirie are a very integral part of our community.
Dominic Beaton, Southern Cross News.
Stay with us after the break. We'll have Fuel Watch, and in the weather it's going to be an absolute scorcher over the coming days. I'll have all the local weather details soon. Hello again. Time now to check out the region's fuel prices. Here's Pat.
Well, Christmas has come early this year with petrol figures continuing to tumble. It's a welcome treat after 6 months of high prices. Starting with unleaded, and there have been some big changes in the local averages. In the space of a week, Port Lincoln has gone down by almost 10 cents to sit on 142. Whyalla is also around the mark. While Port Augusta's prices have remained high, there is some good news with the average now hovering on 152, but still much higher than other centres. Port Pirie has had a great start to December, and so has Kadina. Motorists there paying around the low 130s. Broken Hill is the most expensive on the board at $1.56, but we have seen a small 2-cent decline. Adelaide Cycle is working wonders, with drivers only having to pay a measly $1.15 a litre. Turning over to diesel now, and it's still green, green, green. Port Lincoln is down to 151, Whyalla is at 155. Port Augusta has dropped by 4 cents. Meanwhile, Port Pirie has done better, falling by 7. The same goes for Kadina, which now rests on an even 150. Broken Hill motorists are still paying a fair amount to fill up. The price here is $1.64. Adelaide is 20 cents cheaper at $1.41. Not many changes have happened in autogas this week. Port Lincoln has gone up by a bit, Whyalla could be on the way down. The rest of the board is breaking even. Adelaide the only other city centre to see any movement. Back to you, Abby.
Thanks, Pat. And now it's time to take a look at what's happening in the weather. Well, it looks like summer has well and truly arrived. It was sunny and hot for all centres today. Port Augusta warming up to 37 degrees. Taking a look at the satellite, and cloud over the northwest and far west of the state in a developing trough is causing a few showers and storms, but it's mostly clear skies elsewhere where winds are drier. If you're escaping the heat on the waters tomorrow, we'll see easterly shifting southeasterly winds between 10 and 15 knots. Seas reaching a metre with a south-southwesterly swell, and sunrise will be just after 6 o'clock. We're in for an absolute scorcher tomorrow, with temps soaring into the 40-degree mark for Port Augusta. Woodnar will reach a sweltering 43-degree maximum. Whyalla and Port Pirie very hot, 39 the max, and temps in the mid to high 30s everywhere else. We will see temps gradually start to fall from Friday. Much more pleasant temps by Saturday as well. Port Lincoln mostly fine in 24, Cleve 27 the max for the weekend, and Woodnar warm still, 33 the top for you. Well, after a burst of heat tomorrow, it's going to remain very hot on Friday further up the Gulf. Port Augusta, another 41-degree day in store for you. The good news is we will see some relief from the heat in Whyalla and Kadina for the weekend, with temps hovering around the high 20 mark. Port Augusta still warm though, 35 the max there. Again, a scorching few days in store here. Temps will gradually start to drop again for the weekend. Clare 31 the max for Saturday and Sunday, and staying very hot in Broken Hill with temps in the high 30s. Well, summer has certainly arrived. Keep cool, everyone. And that's all from the team this Wednesday. I'm Abby Donaldson. Thanks for your company. Good night.